Warning. Spoilers ahead. Today, I'm going to recap a 2014 Korean action movie called For the Emperor. This movie is about a former professional baseball player who is now working as a debt collector for a big loan company owned by a mafia boss. Working for a mafia may be risky and stressful, but he meets a beautiful woman at his new workplace and falls under her charms. One day, that girl suddenly vanishes. He suspects that his boss had something to do with her disappearance. Does he manage to find that woman? Did his boss have something to do with her disappearance? Let's find out. This is Hwon, a great baseball player. He is so famous that he often appeared in the newspaper. But in his last matches, he made a lot of blunders, making his team blow big leads and relegated to the second division. His teammates, coaches, and fans were very disappointed with him. Apparently, Hwon intentionally played badly in order to gain a huge amount of money. His coach was the one who invited him to be involved in match fixing. Sadly, his coach only gave him a small amount of money. Of course, Hwon was not satisfied with it. Suddenly, an army of police came and carried out a raid. Everyone in that place was arrested and sent to jail, including Hwon. Hwon's career was completely over. Everyone mocked him. Few days later, he was suddenly released by a lawyer who he didn't even know. Hwon didn't ask much, he just left the prison and headed to the bookie's headquarters to get his money back. Turns out there was a man who was being beaten by a group of mafias because he couldn't pay his debt. Their leader's name is Kyung-soo. Hwon, who suddenly came without manners, made Kyung-soo angry and wanted to give him some lessons. But Hwon is strong enough to beat him and his men alone. The next day, Hwon found out that Kyung-soo was the one who helped him out of prison. He apologized to Kyung-soo for beating him. Kyung-soo wanted to forgive him, but Hwon had to pay compensation for beating him. When Hwon left the room, he passed a big mafia boss, Sang-ha, who leads a big loan company named Emperor Capital. Sang-ha knew Hwon even though Hwon didn't know him yet. It's because he was the one who ordered Kyung-soo to release him from jail. Hwon, who didn't have anything, decided to sleep at the baseball stadium before Sang-ha men came to pick him up. Yes, Sang-ha wanted to talk with him and offer him an opportunity to work for him as a debt collector. Hwon didn't immediately accept the offer. But Sang-ha reminded him that he had to pay compensation for beating Kyung-soo. Hwon had no choice. Hwon's first task was to collect the debt of a former thug named Rockfish, who worked as a fish seller. Because that day was Hwon's first day at work, Kyung-soo arrogantly told Hwon to carefully watch him collect the debt. "See how pros do it," he said. Sadly, even though there were 3 of them, they were not able to collect Rockfish's debt. Rockfish was too strong for them. Hwon's seniors ran away while Kyung-soo got beaten up. Hwon finally intervened. Even though Rockfish was way bigger than him, he still managed to beat Rockfish and collect his debt. After successfully collecting the debt, they came back to Sang-ha. As a reward, Sang-ha gave Hwon some money. Unexpectedly, Hwon returned the money because he wanted to pay off his compensation for beating Kyung-soo and didn't want to deal with Sang-ha anymore. But Sang-ha reminded him that his career as a professional baseball player has been ruined and he can give him a lot of money. Hwon finally decided to continue working under Sang-ha's wing. As a celebration of Hwon's entry as a new member, Sang-ha invited Hwon to drink at a bar they used to drink at. At that place, he met a beautiful girl. That girl is Cha, a prostitute who works for Hwon's mafia big bosses. Her beauty made Hwon completely fall under her charms. Hwon enjoyed his first days being a debt collector. He had no trouble adapting since Kyung-soo mentored him on how to be a good debt collector. Sang-ha even gave him a Mercedes-Benz and other luxury things to make him look even more dignified. One night, an unexpected thing came to Hwon. Cha approached him and asked him whether he had time to go out together. Bingo! Of course, Hwon didn't want to waste this opportunity. The next day, they went for a walk at a riverside. Hwon really enjoyed his time together with her. However, an unpleasant thing happened. An old man suddenly approached Cha and started teasing her with inappropriate words. Hwon was not happy about it. He was so angry that he strangled that old man. Cha immediately broke them up. It seems that the incident didn't really affect their day because they still look happy after that. After a tiring day of walking, Juan sent her back to her apartment. There, they made love for the first time. One day, Shanghai invited Juan to meet his friend, Han, who's also a big mafia boss. He respected Han a lot. It turns out that Han was the man Juan strangled when he was out with Cha. Juan immediately saluted him because Juan was too panicked. He didn't expect that the man he strangled was a big mafia boss. Apparently, Han and Shanghai met to discuss their plan to build a big building that will be used as their new office. On the other hand, Juan was getting better at doing his job as a debt collector. He always managed to complete his task without any problem. Shanghai was very happy with Juan's performance. Meanwhile, Juan also often dates Cha. 3 years later, the office construction was finished. Juan and the other members worked at the new office. Shanghai called Juan to come to his room. Apparently, Shanghai knew that Juan had a special relationship with Cha, his prostitute. He doesn't want Juan to be distracted by her, so he asked him to stay away from her. Shanghai believed that relationships could interfere with professionalism at work. Juan was so sad because his boss forbade him to get close with Cha. He even abandoned his duty of collecting debt. His partners complained about this to Shanghai. They wanted Shanghai to eliminate Juan, but Shanghai didn't want to do that. He decided to warn Juan instead. He really led his organized crime mob with a combination of authority, loyalty and cold-bloodedness. Even though Shanghai had already warned Juan to stay away from Cha, Juan insisted on being close with her. One day, Cha came home crying. He told Juan that she worked as a prostitute because he had a huge loan at Shanghai's company. Knowing that, he met Shanghai the next day and told him that he would pay Cha's debt. Shanghai approved it. On the other hand, Han and Shanghai's car were attacked by a gang of criminals. Turns out the mastermind behind the attack was Cutter, a feared mafia in Korea who was thrown into prison by Shanghai years ago. The mafia world is really cruel, they can throw each other into jail as they could control everything. Actually, Shanghai had already known that Cutter was going to be released from jail, but he didn't expect that Cutter would take revenge so soon. Luckily, Shanghai's men immediately came to save him even though Cutter managed to escape. The next day, Shanghai came to Cha's apartment and told her to stay away from Juan. Shanghai had no choice because his warning on Juan didn't work. Cha was afraid that their safety would be in danger if she insisted on being close with Juan. She decided to stay away and disappeared from Juan. Realizing that Cha was missing, Juan thought that Shanghai had something to do with it. His relationship with Shanghai is getting worse. On the other hand, because they thought Cutter was a serious threat to them, they were trying to eliminate him by attacking his headquarters. In that raid, the gang was led by Juan. They walked into the house with knives in their hands. Of course, there were people who were on guard. They were surprised someone was trying to break through. The fight was unavoidable. Even though Juan was alone, he was able to defeat them in no time. On the other hand, the other gangster members who broke through the headquarters separately managed to get in without any problems. There was bloodshed as they started to kill every person in that house. It seems that the people in that headquarters were not ready for their sudden attack. Unfortunately, even though they managed to kill everyone in the house, Cutter was not there. Cutter, who managed to escape, was trying to get revenge. This time, he successfully kidnapped Shanghai and tortured him somewhere. Kyung-soo, who saw and knew where Shanghai was kidnapped, immediately called Juan. He told Juan where Shanghai was. Juan rushed to that location to save his boss. Cutter, who was stronger and bigger than Juan, was not an easy opponent for Juan. Juan had been knocked down several times, but Juan didn't give up and finally found a way to beat him. Not only that, he also buried Cutter alive because he was so angry. At the end of the movie, Shanghai and Juan are making up and taking a rest after a tiring fight. On this occasion, Shanghai told him that he and his men once collected a debt somewhere. That day, he saw a brave little kid who dared to fight his men alone even though his men finally beat that kid. Out of pity for the kid, he ordered his men to stop and then returned that boy's baseball. That day, Shanghai planned to recruit that boy when he grew up. It was Juan. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.